Hello everyone. In the last video, we saw an introductory example on how we can get to work with the queue service. In this video, I'll be introducing us to the peak operation, and I'll be giving some real life context to the usefulness of queues. So I'll be sharing my screen now. So speaking about the peak operation, in the last video, we spoke about, we saw how we can add messages to a queue and also to remove messages from a queue. We call that enqueuing and dequeuing operation. And we saw how we can use Visual Studio to enqueue messages into a queue. So in this video, we want to look at how we can pick into a queue. So pick means that you are not adding to the queue, you are not removing from the queue. You just want to look through the content of the queue. You want to have some kind of access to the queue to compare it to some other data. So that's what we are looking at in this video. And at the end of this video, I will also give a real life scenario so that we can understand the usefulness of this more. So we add two libraries, Azure.storage.queues. We added this library which automatically includes this models package also. Then we, as usual, connection string queue name, then the queue client, and we pass the connection string and the queue name as parameters. Then we go into the we declare this pig message array, and which is from the model, the Azure.storage.queue.model. Then we declare an object variable messages, and we pass in the number of messages, the number of items in the queue that we are interested in. So let's say the queue contains 5 messages. If we should use this tree, it's actually going to pick messages from the first 3. So we're not going to see the 4th message and the 5th message. So just 3. Then we declare our loop. And in our loop, we are now specifying the parameters, the properties that we are interested in. So we are only interested in the message ID of the picked message, then the insertion date, as well as the body contents. Yeah, so let me just run this program. And I would reshare. Yeah, so you can see it's picked the message ID, the insertion date, and the body for the first message, and it does the same for the second message as well as the third message. And that's because in our queue, if we should go to the Azure portal, we only have 3 messages remaining. We've already dequeued the first and the second. So we only have 3 remaining. So assuming I had changed the 3 to 2, we wouldn't have seen the this last message, this message 4 of first queue service. We wouldn't have seen that. So let me stop sharing. And now let me go to our portal to confirm that these messages are truly what is in our portal. So we can see from our portal, the messages are what we had. Yeah, so speaking about queues, so I was thinking about a real life. So I've worked with a lot of projects around the usefulness of queues. And one thing about this queue service is that it does not work on its own. Most of the time you use it in conjunction with function service, the Azure function service, as well as the blob service. However, I was thinking about an example that really mimics what this queue is all about. And what came to my mind first was um application for passports. So I mean, irrespective of where you are all over the world, if the way it is from where I am from, if I want to remotely request for my passport, that's my international passport. So there are certain details that is required of me, and I go through an application. I submit those details like my birth certificate, my national ID card, my name, my driver's license, or anything that is required by the immigration agency. Then after submitting those information, they go through some kind of processing. They verify it that I am not blacklisted, or I am not a wanted citizen in some countries, or I haven't stolen, or I am not owing the country or something. They try to verify that I'm eligible to get my passport. Then after, if I can pass through that verification process, then the I am now redirected to another department that kind of like starts that approves my passport request, and when it's ready, is now given to that department. So this thing that I just explained now, um, if you look at it trivially, you might think it does not relate to Q, but from a programming perspective, perspective, it's something that you can use queues to address perfectly. And I will shed more details around it. So let's say um you have a blob, you have a storage account, a container. You submit those details like um your information that is yet to be processed and is stored in a data store. And that data store and the data store that we are using is like a container. After that, after it is stored there, so probably you actually use an application to submit them into that blob. So probably the immigration agency have an application that allows you to submit those data. So afterwards, they now have some other internal applications that kind of like processes those data that have been submitted. So this internal application checks for errors and tries to like verify that all the required documents are provided for that particular individual. So after that is passed, then um the processed passport is now stored in like another container, another blob container. So the way Q can relate to this is that after an individual submits a request for a passport, that's something that is yet to be processed. So we can use the queue service to send a message. So the queue service can trigger a message. So it can trigger a function service. So assuming we're combining queues with a serverless application. So when that message triggers that function will now send a message to that application that will now process that container blob. Then afterwards, when that is also done, then there will also be another message that would ensure that the um, the passport is available. This can sound abstract, but we are going to be writing a program that actually mimics what I have just explained. And by the time you see that program, I believe things will be clearer. So let's just put it to an end here. And later on, at the end of this queue service, we are going to be seeing a program that combines queue service with function service with table storage all together. And what we are going to be storing as data will be things around passport information. So I hope you find this video informative, and we'll be back.